There he
Hey,
is. How
hey,
are
what's up? How you
you?
doing?
Oh man, so happy to be having a conversation with you.
Oh, hey, I'm happy to be having a conversation with you. Proud of you.
Me too. Well, thank you so much, Devon. I have to tell you, even before we jump into this conversation, you are one of the reasons why I went into broadcast.
No
Because
way.
one of the reasons I went into because someone who I knew personally manifested their dreams, and I saw you do it, and so I was like, okay, like maybe I can do it
Wow,
too.
what a blessing. That's God. That's crazy. And look at you
Yeah.
now. You just it's soaring, doing your thing. It's a
Thank
blessing.
you, Devon. And you too. We're all so proud of you. So, for a lot of people that are tuning in right now, look, it is been really rough for a lot of us, right? Making things happen for ourselves in this season. It's rough for a lot of people, Devon. So, I would
Yeah.
ask you, for people that are tuning in right now, for those who may have been discouraged or had to put their dreams on hold for 2020, what would you tell them?
It's okay to feel, that sense of discouragement. I think it's would be probably unnatural not to, because whenever our plans get disrupted, we're going to have an emotional reaction to that, and that's all right. I think sometimes we try to um, talk ourselves out of how we feel. I think the key though is once you get past the initial reaction of how you feel, then to start to process the facts. It's like,
Okay.
okay, maybe I am drawing an incorrect conclusion based upon the facts that are presented. So, when you mentioned even in your question, that some people's dreams are being put on hold, then
Right.
my question is, are they really?
Mm,
How do you know that? Because see what happens when I begin to make a conclusion that the facts don't tell me I can make, right? I'm looking at a set of facts and then I make an analysis of that. And if I make
right.
a negative analysis, then everything in my world begins to align with that analysis that I have made and the conclusion that I've drawn, even if it's
Right.
not true. So if I'm saying my dreams are on hold right now,
Right.
then
Right.
I'm going to live in a way where I'm on hold. Well, I can't do anything. It's the pandemic. I got to stay home. I can't.
Hmm.
I would say that our dreams are not being put on hold by any stretch of the imagination.
Hmm.
I believe that this moment can actually be used to bring the fulfillment of our dreams, depending on how we navigate and look at this moment. So I think it's really important if you're discouraged, feel it. But now let's move through that feeling into the facts. Let's look at the facts of
Right.
your life. Let's look at the facts of your dreams. Let's also look at the facts of your current reality. And how can you begin to look at those facts through a positive lens instead of a negative one?
Oh man, I love that. I love that answer. A lot of people underneath the comment section getting life from that right now.
Oh, wow. Amen.
So, when you're feeling discouraged, what do you do personally? How do you kind of pull yourself up from that space?
It's a good question. I really try to get to the core of where the discouragement is coming from.
Okay.
So a lot of times, that discouragement may be coming because, again, I had a plan or I thought that this was going to work or something I
Hmm.
want to work. It just doesn't see, I don't see how it's going to work. So then
Right.
as a result, there's discouragement. But what I do is I get to the root of that and say, okay, well, why am I feeling that way? All right, well, then I got to make a different choice. It's like, okay, again, I'm looking at the facts of a situation. Well, let me make a different choice. Let me then begin to still live in faith where I'm seeing it in my mind. And I say, well, I'm
Mm.
just going to believe that. I'm going to keep believing that. I'm going to keep living according to that. And then also I have affirmations that I do.
Okay.
I have different things I listen to. I have books that I read. We all need to, stay encouraged. So I'm no exception to that. So I do everything I can through filling my mind and my spirit with the right things that will keep me, focused on where I'm going and what I'm believing is going to happen.
Oh, but Dylan, I love that. Affirmations, like you mentioned, when I wake up before I get ready to head out and do a story, I've got to say some affirmations. I never know what I'm gonna run into. So,
That's
can you
right.
share some of your affirmations with us so we can kind of know what we can say to ourselves?
That's good. That's a good question. What are some of my affirmations? I don't know them offhand. I usually read them, but
Okay.
I usually just say, I can do all things through,
Mm,
Christ who strengthens me, or, I've got this. It's all going to be good. I can make it. Like I just try to really, whatever the moment is, I try to do an affirmation specific to the moment
I love that.
because it's really important when you look at that because sometimes it's almost like a prescription. Depending
Right.
on what the problem is or the pain, you got to then prescribe the right antidote for it. And so my affirmations sometimes can change depending on what the moment is.
I love that.
Yeah,
You gotta switch it to whatever you're going through so you can really feel it.
there you go.
For people who are maybe experiencing a lapse in their faith, right? People are losing jobs. A really good friend of mine lost his grandmother yesterday to COVID. So this is
I'm sorry.
happening all around us. And for people who are experiencing a lapse in their faith, what would you tell them?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, if anyone's experiencing a lapse in their faith, I think you got to ask the question, why? Why, where is your faith failing?
Mm,
Where is it beginning to wane? And
mm,
it's really, and the reason why I ask the question, why, it's not, because sometimes you ask that, why would you doubt God? That's not
mm,
it. It's like, well, why is your faith waning? Where is it starting to fall?
mm.
What is it that you were in faith over that has broken your heart?
Wow.
What is it that you were in faith over that you haven't seen that's broken your spirit?
Wow.
So if we're losing faith, we got to go back to the incident. As a reporter, you go out to the scene of the event,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you got to go to the event to cover the story.
Right.
So it's important for anyone watching, if your faith is getting low, you got to go to the event. Where did the event happen where your faith started to go a little
Mm,
bit low? And so, if it's because of COVID, if it's because of the pandemic, okay, my faith, because when this pandemic hit, here's why my faith is low. All right. Now you have recognized this is the event that has caused my faith to be low.
okay.
So when you do that, you say, okay, well, what about this event has taken my faith?
Right.
Oh, because see, I was hoping for a different outcome.
Mm,
So the event was the opposite of what I was hoping for. So as a result, my faith has gotten low and my belief in God's power to operate in my life has been shaken
mm,
because this happened. And this is not the thing I prayed for. It's not the thing I wanted. It actually feels like it's working against what I've wanted. So if this event hadn't happened, my faith would be stronger. So this
right.
is why we go back to the event. We begin to analyze it. And then again, it's about making a different choice. It's about
Right.
saying, okay, my faith is low. Here's why it's low. But let me go back prior to the event when my faith was strong.
Okay.
Do I have evidence in my life that faith has worked before? Do I have testimonies of the power of faith in my life? Have I been in moments before when I was down, but somehow I made it out? Great. So now I have a memory. I build my confidence. So when I look back, I see that there are moments that have helped me. So now let me apply
Mm,
my knowledge to the current moment, right? To say, okay,
right. Right.
this has happened. I didn't ask for it, but maybe I need to make a different choice so I don't let it bring my faith down. Let me stay in faith because I have the confidence of faith. I have a whole lifetime where I can go back to, you can count more moments on your fingers
Mm-hmm.
where faith has worked in your life. So if you know that it's worked before, why would you doubt it now? So you go back to that event and you look at it differently and say, okay, this happened. I didn't pray for it. I don't even understand it, but
Right.
I don't need to understand it. What I need to do is still move forward in faith. So if someone's faith is getting low, you go back to that moment, you go back to your history, and then you chart the path forward.
Man, like you mentioned, moving forward and looking back at all the things that he's done. Because when I get discouraged, I've got to do the same thing. I've got
Yeah,
to figure out where in my life, and just today, waking up this morning is an example of that. For you, how have things changed? For people in broadcast, a lot of people are working from home. I'm still out in the field. I've just got a mic where I can do interviews that's a little longer now to keep
right.
that 6 feet of distance. But how have things changed for you?
Things have changed, quite a bit. I mean, in terms of Hollywood, where everyone's on lockdown, so there's no productions going on. So we've all been developing our scripts via Zoom meetings and conference calls, and that's been pretty good. I've been doing a lot more, interviews like this through Instagram Live and Zoom and Skype and StreamYard and all the things,
All of
right?
them.
Facebook Live and all that. And then, my life as an author, I'm still writing and I have a couple books that'll be coming out. So things are different. And then every morning I do a meeting with my staff. So we do a Zoom meeting and
Awesome.
we go through the issues for the day and everyone gets their kind of marching orders, so to speak. And then but that's been good to keep us all together. We have a really strong sense of community. So yeah, it's changed. It's definitely changed. But I would say, oddly enough, I feel like we're probably more productive and more connected than
Oh.
we've ever been.
Oh, wow. I was going
Yeah.
to say, you talked about doing all these Zooms and these Skypes. Now, for you, you've always connected through social media. I think you've done an excellent job of being able to reach people where they are, even
Mm.
before this happened.
Oh, thank
Devon, I
you.
think you have been able to use and connect in such a powerful and meaningful way. There's some mornings where before I'm going to work and I've had a hard day, I just tune into one of your prayers and I instantly
Wow.
feel encouraged.
Oh, amen.
So I'm gonna ask you
Amen.
this. What made you start using social media to reach people in that way? And did you know it was gonna be received as well as it has been?
What got me to use social media was it's just all right. I believe that I have a voice. I believe I can help people. And, instead of just waiting for the right opportunity and entertainment to,
Hmm.
express that voice, why not just use the vehicle available to me now, which is social media?
Right,
And
right.
so the intent is I really want to help people live their best lives. I really want people to operate according to their divine design, so to speak.
Mm.
And I believe that, I've had experiences that have allowed me, that have, qualified to talk about that and help people in that way. So that's really where it came from, and then the prayers were all just, I mean, they were very, I don't want to say accidental because God doesn't make accidents, but
Okay, all right
I
now.
did it. This is probably well over a year ago. I started it. I did it. And then Tyrese said, yo, man, that was really dope. You should do more prayers. He said, people need that. I was like, really? He said, yeah. So I did it. And, Brandon, listen, those prayers, we're talking now in the millions of views
I
collectively.
mean,
Millions of views go all around the world. And people stop me everywhere I go and like, oh my goodness, I can't believe, it's you, and thank you for your prayer, and you pray for this and you pray
yes.
for that. And, the word speaks about the power of prayer. And I think the thing about social media and the prayers and why they work is that most social media is kind of me focused.
Okay.
Oh, look at me, me. Everyone's posting
Hmm.
about what's going on in their life. Here's what's going on in my life. Here,
Right.
look at me. Look what I'm eating. Look what I'm watching. All that. The prayers have nothing to do with me. It has
Right.
everything to do with the person. So I
Exactly.
think that's why it works, because it's not me. It's not. I'm not talking about, hey, come watch this because I'm selling you something. No, I'm like, these prayers
Right.
are for you. I'm praying because I want to help whoever's watching live their life, navigate a difficult moment, get their hope back, get their inspiration back, get their application,
Mm.
back. So the prayers are geared towards the viewer, and I think that's why they cut through.
Man, like I can tell you from personal experience, they definitely cut through in a way that is much needed and they arrive just when you need them the most.
Oh
So,
wow.
so Devon, I'll ask you this just for anybody listening. You mentioned a lot about how you and your staff collectively are using this time to plan. Why should someone not be waiting to 2021 to start planning and preparing? And if they're feeling down, and I've seen a lot of people say, well, I can't create, like you said, you're writing right now. Why is this the best time to do all of those things
Right.
as
Well,
opposed to waiting?
yeah, no, I think that when it comes to, the plan, okay, so let's just go down your line of thought for a minute, right? So
Okay.
let's just say, all right, I'm discouraged right
Right.
now. I had some plans, and I'm just gonna wait until 2021. I'm wait till next year.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So I am making a couple assumptions. I'm making the assumption that I'm gonna make it till next year.
Oh, right.
I'm making the assumption that the plan that I want to do will be available to execute next year. Think about if someone last year had something they were supposed to do in 2019, but said, I'm going to
Wow.
wait until 2020. I'm going to wait until March of 2020. Who would have known?
Who would have known?
This morning, I did a post about procrastination.
Okay.
That if we don't, when we procrastinate, what that means is that we
Mm.
are outsourcing what we're supposed to do today for a tomorrow that may never arrive. So
Hmm.
in order to, if you and I want to go to the ATM and get money out of our account, If money is there, it's because there was a deposit made before we got there. So you got to look at time the same way. So in my future, if I want certain things to be there, I got to make the deposit today. If I don't deposit in the present, I can't withdraw in the future. It just won't work. So when you go back to that person who's saying, I'm going to wait until 2021, I would encourage that person, don't make faulty assumptions that may ultimately not come true.
Right.
I would say, I know it's difficult. I know we're going through a difficult moment, but please do what you can do now to begin to use those plans that you feel compelled to use. It's really important. Like, don't delay. I'm not saying that you shouldn't process the pain and the trauma of the moment. Of course, it's a difficult moment. That doesn't mean every hour of every day you're going to be super motivated. You may not. However, I would still keep a disposition of planning and productivity and thinking, because also, if we don't plan right now, if someone right now, let's say, okay, I go back to the example. I'm discouraged right now, and I'm putting my plans on hold till next year. So if I'm discouraged, what am I spending my days doing?
Being discouraged?
Being discouraged, watching TV, going, like it just, and then what am I going to have to show for that?
Right.
So it's like, okay, yes, I'm not saying we shouldn't have moments of discouragement or moments where we're honest, but then we got to say, all right, well, how can I make better use of these days? How can I make better use of these days and make greater deposits in the present that will help me withdraw in the future? And do the thing now that your future self will say, thank you. I'm so glad that during the pandemic, I made those plans. I'm so glad that during the pandemic, I didn't stop. I'm so glad that during the pandemic, I put in that application. I'm so glad that during the pandemic, I made that phone call. I'm so glad that I sent that text. I'm so glad. Let your future self, set yourself up for your future self to say, thank you that during this pandemic, you made some difficult decisions, some radical moves that seem crazy in the moment, but in the future, it was like, wow, that's what I think we need to do. And that's what I would say to someone who's thinking about delaying their plans. Don't delay, do it today.
Don't delay, do it today. I love that, Devon. I mean, and on that note, I didn't want to keep you too long. And maybe I'll just ask you this last question before I tell you to leave anything you want to leave with anybody tuning in. Don't delay, like you mentioned, continue to move forward. For many people who maybe have loved ones or family members, and they're not in the best situation or environment to feel like they can push forward, what would you say to them that maybe they feel like they're in a situation where it's difficult because of their environment? How can we not let our environment stifle us?
Yeah, the environment is difficult, right? Because now, because we're staying, at home and quarantine, so to speak, you may be in an environment with family members, and it's one thing when you can control your space.
Right.
It's another thing when you can't, because there are people in your space and people that, you may love them, but they get on your nerves. Let's just have an honest moment. Okay, you love them, but you're like, Lord have mercy.
If my mom is tuning in, you don't get on my nerves, okay?
No, Eleanor is amazing.
Eleanor is amazing.
Here's what I would encourage that person to do. Two things. One, if you live in a house where there's not a lot of space, get yourself a chair.
Okay.
And say, this is my chair. This is like when I'm in this chair, act as if I'm outside.
Okay.
So when I'm in this chair,
wow. Okay.
this is my safe space chair, right? So I don't want nobody to talk to me. Don't come and ask me for nothing. I am spending some time with me. I'm doing the things I got to do when I'm in this chair. That's all you got. I'm in this chair.
Okay.
So if you got family members want to buy, remember I told you what this chair is? Now, when I get up, you can sit in the chair and we have the same rules. But if all you got is a chair, I got a chair, and that chair means when I'm in this chair, this is me time. This is me time. Because I gotta, if all I can do controlling my environment is a chair, then I'm gonna do it. The
I
other
love
thing I
it.
would say is go around the, get outside, take a walk around the block. I know
Right.
parks and gyms and stuff are closed, so you can't do that, but walk around the block. Get out, see, breathe, think, put on your mask though,
Yes.
make sure you're safe. But still, get out of that environment and take a walk. Get your mind right. Get your spirit refreshing. Because if you stay cooped up with people that,
Right.
don't always do the thing you want them to do, you could really, it could wear on your spirit really badly.
Big time.
And so I think it's really, really important to get that chair and to take some walks. And it will really help anyone who's having a difficult time navigating their environment. I think it will really help them make it through. And then the last thing I would add to that is that
Yeah.
um, in this time, especially if you're living with some people that are getting on your nerves, the best thing to do is accept.
Okay.
Here's what I mean by that. Because see, a lot of our tension comes from somebody is acting a certain way that we wish they didn't act.
Mm.
They're doing something we wish they didn't do. So
Right.
as a result, our desire for them not to do it is butting up against them doing it. So there's some
Right.
tension there. So if we just said, all right, I'm going to accept. Okay. The resistance goes away. All right. This is just who this person is. It's just the way they're going to be. All right. I accept. What it can do is that acceptance can create more peace to deal with that person instead of allowing them to get on your nerves because you wish they would change. You wish they
Right.
would be different. You wish they wouldn't talk so much. Well, that's just who they are. So I accept them. I love them. I accept them. And as I accept them, I give myself back that energy that I was putting into wishing that they would change. And that's also how you get your environment back, right? Because your environment, the most important environment is the environment of your mind.
Right. Big time.
Most important environment, most important environment. And so when we're resisting the people in our physical environment, it disrupts our mental environment.
Yes.
So when I start to accept, I get back that energy, right? Because I was putting all this energy, if you're living with your family members, your mom getting on your nerves, your sisters getting on your nerves, your brothers getting on your nerves.
Mm-hmm.
I just wish they would be different. Well, they're not. That's who they've been before the pandemic. That's who they're going to be after the pandemic.
Right.
So I'm going to stop putting energy into that. And I'm going to get my energy back. I'm going to get my energy back and say, all right, this is who they are. Okay, so if that's who they are, what am I going to do about it? How am I going to react? Because that's the only thing I can control is my reaction. So I'm choosing to control my reaction by accepting them. That's who mama is. That's who my sister is. That's who my brother is. Okay, that's who they are. But I'm getting my energy and my peace back. I think that these strategies in a really tense environment will help someone get their peace back and navigate this moment successfully. And to know that this too will pass. As difficult as this pandemic is, it will pass. We're going to come out of this and we're going to look back and say, wow, remember that COVID,
I
19 virus?
know.
Remember that? Right? So this is a temporary moment. So it's really important to remember that even though it's tense, it's going to pass and you're going to be able to get back to a version of your life, not exactly what it was, but a version of it that may give you some more freedom.
And Devon, and hopefully a even better version. Hopefully we come
Yes.
out of this even stronger than we went into this. I love that.
Yes.
I saw some people dropping some chairs. Devon, I think you just made the
Yes.
chair emoji popular right now.
Get
Well,
your chair.
I got my chair. I'm going to pull it up and use it. Well, Devon, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day and your schedule to
You're
drop
welcome.
some jewels on us. And like I said again, just thank you for all the souls that you save and inspire,
Mm.
especially for me. I definitely have to thank you for giving me the example of someone who pursued their dreams fearlessly and courageously. And I will continue to pray for you and
Wow.
keep sharing the
Likewise.
message.
I
Keep
will. And
sharing.
I'm just so proud of you. Keep going. Seriously, I knew you before you were even existed. That's how far back we go. I've known your mother since I was a kid.
Oh,
So it's a
no.
blessing just to see all that you're doing and proud of you and anything that I can do to support you. I got you.
Well, Devon, you did it today. You came and you blessed us with some knowledge, and some people are going to get their chair and
Get your chair. Get your mind right.
all right, Devon, have a great rest of your day. I will
All
see
right.
you once this is all over. Okay.
Yeah, I look forward to it. God
All
bless. Good to
right.
see you.
Okay. Take care. All
All
right.
right. Bye.
Bye bye.